Iran is this afternoon vowing to take revenge after Israel assassinated one of the regime's most powerful decision makers. Let's go live now to our correspondent Jacqueline Robson in Tel Aviv. Jackie, he was a major player in Iranian politics.
He was, Mike. This is the most high-profile assassination since the death of the late Supreme Leader. Ali Larijani was Iran's top security chief. He sat at the heart of decision-making, steering this war. He was also a very influential policymaker. He sat at the table for the 2015 nuclear deal. He also is said to have been involved in recent diplomatic talks with the US. He oversaw Iran's deadly crackdown on protesters earlier this year. It's a massive scalp for Israel, who also took out a paramilitary commander in sweeping strikes. Iran is vowing decisive and regrettable revenge. Here's Israel's Prime Minister.
We knocked out two of the terrorist chieftains, the top terrorist chieftains of this tyranny. Our aircraft are hitting the terror operatives on the ground, in the crossroads, in the city squares. Happy Nowruz. We're watching from above.
Now, this is as the US president lost his top counter-terrorism official. Joe Kent quit in protest to this war. His public resignation letter reading, "Iran posed no imminent threat. It is clear we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby." Both sides are continuing to trade more blows. Iranian proxy Hezbollah, launching dozens of rockets into northern Israel, returned fire for heavy Israeli attacks in Beirut, killing another 6 people there. Iran is continuing to target US bases around the Middle East, striking the US embassy in Baghdad once again. Cluster munitions have been raining down across Israel, including here in Tel Aviv. 2 people have been killed and there has been widespread damage to homes and even the destruction of a train station. Mike?
Jacqueline Robson in Tel Aviv.
Josh, the president's now asking other countries to send ships to help police the Strait of Hormuz. Any response from our Gulf allies?
Well, asking, Anna, and in fact, you heard they're actively, quote, demanding that they take part in trying to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, and allies generally are brushing it off. Our reporting from our David Rhodes suggesting that many of our allies are already refused to send military into the Strait of Hormuz to be part of some sort of international coalition. Britain, Germany, Australia have all declined, although Britain says it's looking at diplomatic options. China has declined the call as well, but no one really would have expected China to take part in an American-led operation like this. Look, Anna, our allies, U.S. allies, really were not involved in the talks with Iran that led up to this war, and in most cases were cut out and in the dark about the war planning that the U.S. entered into with Israel, and they've been basically playing catch-up. They are not inclined, they say, to assist now that the Strait of Hormuz has effectively been broken as a result of the action in Iran.
I'll press South Africa to end proceedings against Israel before the International Court of Justice and to pressure the International Criminal Court prosecutor to discontinue this lawfare, which is belied by Israel's support for the ceasefire in Gaza and commitment to the rules of war throughout the conflict.
How would you use your role as the U.S. ambassador to South Africa to help stand up for our ally Israel in that regard?
What South Africa did in leading the charge against Israel in the International Court of Justice was an injustice. It's going to be a top priority because the president has made it a top priority, and the president has told me it's a top priority to do something about that, to get South Africa, not just on that issue, but there are other issues. For example, just recently, South Africa engaged in naval exercises with Iran, the archenemy of Israel. If confirmed, I will be taking the president's message to them that we find it intolerable that they would work against American national interests. Our alliance with Israel is ironclad. They are one of our greatest friends in the world. The president's going to stand by Israel, and that means we have to address this with South Africa.
Indeed.
Thank you.
We have called in the ambassador of the United States, Ambassador Bozelli, to explain his undiplomatic remarks. As we cannot tell President Trump how to deal with localization in the U.S., he also can't tell us how to deal with our domestic issues of sovereignty.
South Africa has just summoned the United States ambassador today, not quietly, publicly. Foreign Minister Ronald Lamola walked in front of cameras and told the entire world that Ambassador Leo Brent Bozell III had been called in to explain himself. And just like that, one of the most powerful governments on earth found itself being held accountable by the very country it has spent the last 2 years trying to bully into submission. Let that sink in for a moment. South Africa, a country Donald Trump has repeatedly used as a prop for his white grievance politics, a country his administration has threatened, pressured and publicly humiliated, just made the United States ambassador sit down and answer questions in Pretoria, on African soil, and they did it on camera. This is not a minor diplomatic incident. This is a sovereign African nation telling the most powerful country in the world, you have gone too far and there are consequences. So what exactly happened here? How did we get to this point? It started Tuesday morning at a business conference in Hermanus, a coastal town in the Western Cape. Ambassador Bozell, brand new to the post, barely settled in, took the stage for his first major public address on South African soil. Now, most diplomats in their first public appearance choose their words carefully. They talk about shared values, mutual interest, the importance of the bilateral relationship. They ease in. Bozell did none of that. He walked up to that podium and essentially told South Africa that he did not like them very much right now. He attacked black economic empowerment policies, the very framework South Africa built after apartheid to give black citizens a fighting chance in an economy that was deliberately designed to exclude them for centuries, and called them a source of stagnation. He labeled the liberation struggle chant "Kill the Boer, kill the farmer" as hate speech, directly overriding the rulings of multiple South African courts, which have consistently found that the slogan must be interpreted in the context of the anti-apartheid struggle against white minority rule. And then, as if he had not already said enough, he went after President Cyril Ramaphosa by name. Why? Because Ramaphosa had told the New York Times last week that Donald Trump's refugee policy, which fast-tracked white Afrikaners for resettlement in the United States while blocking refugees from black and brown nations, was, in Ramaphosa's own word, racist. That's what Bozell called an insult. A black African president describing a racially discriminatory policy as racist, and the American ambassador flew into a rage about it in public. But Bozell wasn't finished. He then turned his attention to South Africa's foreign policy, specifically the government's message of condolence to Iran following the killing of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei in US-Israeli strikes. Sending condolence letters to Iran after one of the world's greatest terrorists has been put down. It's not a good sign, he told the room. He went further, telling the audience that South Africa must remain non-aligned, must stay away from the enemies of the United States, and that it is only America which must have allies. Read that again slowly. An American ambassador standing on African soil publicly instructing a sovereign nation on who it is and is not permitted to mourn, who it may and may not call a partner, and what foreign policy choices it is allowed to make. South Africa's response was swift, measured and devastating in its clarity.
With regards to our U.S. relations, the Department of International Relations and Cooperation has noted recent public remarks made by the United States ambassador to South Africa. While South Africa welcomes active public diplomacy and the strengthening of bilateral ties, we emphasize that such engagements must remain consistent with established diplomatic etiquette and international protocols. In this regard, we have called in the ambassador of the United States, Ambassador Bozell, to explain his undiplomatic remarks. And in his engagements and visits to various sites in South Africa, including the Apartheid Museum, District 6, and other historical places, in the engagements, he acknowledges that given our history, South Africa needs redress and is willing to work with us constructively in this regard. I will later allow the Director General, Mr. Zane Dengo, to elaborate further on the discussion with the U.S. ambassador. South Africa has consistently affirmed that the United States is a vital strategic partner for our economy and geopolitical issues, particularly on peace and security across the world. This relationship is not a one-sided relationship.
Now to the stunning show of force at China's security summit. Russian President Putin and Indian Prime Minister Modi walking hand in hand and leaders sharing a car ride. Today's display of unity sending a strong message to President Trump. Here's ABC's chief foreign correspondent, Ian Pannell.
The leaders of China, India and Russia tonight, hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder, all smiles, laughter and a clear message to President Trump. The warm words are an effort to show a stable and alternative world order. President Xi Jinping rolling out the red carpet, hosting the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, an alliance of some of the world's most powerful nations not allied to the US. A challenge and a response to President Trump and Europe over sanctions and tariffs. Vladimir Putin promoting a system that would replace the obsolete Eurocentric and Euro-Atlantic models. In another apparent dig at the US, India's Prime Minister, who's locked in a battle with the US over sweeping tariffs, pledging warmer ties with China, aiming to be partners.
Modi telling the United States he's not happy about tariffs or cozying up to Pakistan. Putin saying that he has a big friend, strong friend in China. And Xi saying that we will continue to challenge U.S. leadership around the world.
This summit is further sign that despite their many differences, those who've been targeted by Trump are now looking elsewhere for friendship, alliances and trade. Mary?
The Trump administration no doubt watching this closely. Ian, thank you.